All right, deal number one of last year, 2023, we're gonna break down every single deal we did. I actually got this one about a year ago today, knocking pre-foreclosures. So I was doing solar sales. I ran into a guy while I was knocking pre-foreclosures after joining a mentorship, and realized, hey, he can help me close these deals. He used to be in door-to-door. I'm gonna start doing this in the off season. So I went for about 2 weeks straight, knocking houses in pre-foreclosure. I believe this was Tarrant County, so it was Haltom City. And I started knocking 2 weeks straight, finally ran into a guy that was an older gentleman, answered. He was in a pretty tough spot. I think his house was about $7,000 behind on the payments. He owed about, it was 109 that his payoff was. So he needed, with everything left on the loan, the back payments, which was about $7,000, everything to get it fully paid off was about $109,000. And so what I did is I set this appointment for someone that I knew could come close the deal, because I didn't really know how to do the paperwork, how to negotiate, any of that. So I ended up bringing this lead the next day to a mentor of mine. We went through a whole spiel in the house. We saw the condition of it. It needed a ton of work. The after repair value on this house, meaning if it was in perfect condition, was about $275,000. So this is if it needed no work. Granted, the house needed, we thought, like $80,000 in repairs. So what we didn't know how much we'd be able to sell this for, but we got it under contract, giving him a couple $1,000. So it was $111,000 that we got it under contract for. And he knew that he probably had to sell. The house was in terrible condition. He didn't have $7,000. We walked him through a couple other options. He wasn't able to make those work. So we said, hey, let's get this sold before you get foreclosed on, which is about 3 weeks from whenever we were at his house. So walked him through all that. I got to see Grant walk him through those options. Got him under contract for $111,000. We then went through the house, took pictures of every single room, video walkthrough, front, back, saw the condition of all the major things like the foundation, the roof, the AC, everything was shot. So he knew that this house needed a ton of work. So once we got this contract, we shot these pictures out to a bunch of our buyers. We actually used someone in our network that specializes in finding buyers. And then we ended up getting it under contract about 2 days after that for $150,000. So we took this contract and sent it to a title company. They got our contract for $111,000. We have the rights to purchase the property. We put $10 in to make this contract valid. This is called earnest money deposit. And once we sent that, we have equitable interest in the property. We now found this buyer for $150,000. We signed an assignment contract with them. So they now have the rights to purchase the property, but we have a $39,000 assignment fee that's put in place between this. So after 3 weeks, once we got this under contract, we closed about 4 days before the foreclosure date. Ended up having to go through a bunch of different stepkids and heirs that had rights to the property from his wife that passed away. So it was a last minute thing. We had to pay $2,000 to some son that didn't want to sign. He wanted to let him go to foreclosure. It was a messy situation. So there's always things like that that's coming up. But ultimately, we got the deal done. This buyer brought $150,000 to the title company. They paid us out the $39,000. I split this with my mentor. So I think it was $19,000. He got $19,000. And then this buyer went in. Who knows, they probably put $70,000, $80,000 of repairs in it, hoping to sell it for $275,000. We were in and out within 3 weeks. We turned $10 of earnest money into $39,000 wholesale fee that we got paid out in 3 weeks. We didn't have to put any more money into it. We didn't have to repair anything. We didn't actually have to put $111,000 into the house. We simply did a deal of door knocking. I brought it to someone that had more experience. I went with him to the appointment the next day. We closed the deal under contract, sent it all to a title company. Eventually, after the 3 weeks, everything at title was clear. We made the $39,000 and moved on to the next deal. So this is a very cool, simple process as far as wholesale deal goes. There are things that happen at title in the mix before the paperwork, the heirship stuff that happened when his wife passed away, documents that kind of, were needed back and forth, but ultimately, a 3-week process and a pretty large payout for a deal that I got knocking pre-foreclosures.